Welcome to LaTour Retirement Talk. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore. I'm very excited about today's show because I'm here with our hosts, Josh LaTour and Jim Margraf. Josh and Jim, guys, thanks for having me on your show. Every week we talk about important financial topics, but we also manage to have some fun, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah,
always.
What have you been up to lately, Josh?
Well, Tony, actually, I've got a little bit of a bone to pick with you.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Jim and I, out of the goodness of our hearts, we came all the way to Arden Hills, Minnesota last week. I walked into your office.
Yep. Oh, we were there.
No, Tony, couldn't be bothered. I
feel like this is payback.
Yep,
absolutely.
Yeah, this sounds familiar. I was in New Orleans, believe it or not.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
Tony, you're lucky that someone was actually in your studio at the moment when we were there, because the two of us were going to booby trap it a little bit. So
play a little practical joke.
We're going to do a few, just change a few knobs and stuff like that.
Wow. Yeah, that would have been a real treat. Thanks. Whoops. I'm glad that didn't happen. I'm glad somebody was in there using it at the time. Well, I had to go to New Orleans for business, but it was business, but I did take 2 extra days for myself because you're in New Orleans. When in Rome, but the French Quarter, I like jazz music, and there are some of the greatest jazz clubs, and it's the birthplace of jazz. But what I want to say about my trip, I'll say about my trip, I went to New Orleans last week, and I've traveled all over the country. In fact, I think I've been to almost all of the lower 48 states. I think there's probably 4 states I haven't ever been to. Other than that, I've been to every state. I've had meat, and I'm a foodie, so I always search out the best food everywhere I go. The best food I've had in the United States is in New Orleans.
Wow.
That's my opinion, and I think a lot of people agree with that from what I've read on online forums. I talked to friends who have also been to New Orleans who agree. The food there is great. Now, I'm not a big shrimp guy, but if you like shrimp, you have never eaten shrimp until you eat it in New Orleans, because it's usually caught that morning or the afternoon before. So it's fresh, and the barbecued shrimp is to die for. There's a breakfast place called the Ruby Slipper that has a dish called eggs cachon that will set you free. And then there's the beignets covered with powdered sugar, the little French pastries, the beignets that are deep fried. I mean, it's just, I actually could feel my arteries hardening as I ate there. But the spices and just the sauces in New Orleans, so good. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice. Well, I'm going to have to check it out. I've never been to New Orleans. So.
Oh, you guys, you'll have to make a trip. You've been?
Yes.
Did you enjoy it? How long ago?
It was about 12, 15 years ago now, I guess. Yeah, it's been quite some time, and it was a bit of a quick trip. So I did get a chance to drive around a little bit, but I didn't get a chance to explore much in the way of jazz clubs or any of too much of the restaurants. It was a quick business trip at the time. So
sure.
But yeah, I did go through the French Quarter, and it was also not that long after Hurricane Katrina.
Oh, hurricane. That's not good. Yeah,
I went through and checked out. I wanted to see the lower Ninth Ward and some of the stuff there and what was wrong. And
tragic. Yeah, I mean, they're still rebuilding parts. There's still things that aren't quite back to, but it's pretty much back.
Sure.
I mean, everything is pretty good and pretty much like it was before.
Right.
As much as it can be. And so they've really done a good job rebuilding, and man, it's a great place to visit. So guys, Jim, what have you been up to?
Oh, just the everyday usual. Have a lot of family coming in this weekend, so I'm going to be we're going to be busy around our house this weekend. So
sure. In-laws or
cousins
or outlaws or
cousins? Your cousins or your wife's cousins?
My wife's cousins.
Oh, okay. So they are.
And also some in-laws. So we got a little bit of all of it there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I wish you the best. Wish you the best. Have fun with that. Well, today we're talking about how to protect and add fuel to your 401k. I like the sound of that. We all have, everybody I know has something, either a 401k, 403b, TSP, some type of employer-sponsored retirement plan. A lot of our listeners do, at least, and viewers.
Sure.
So, where do you want to start?
Well, when we're talking about the 401k, Tony, like you said, most everybody has the availability of a 401k, but we want to protect it. And what do I mean by protect that 401k?
Yeah.
Well, we need to look at the investments that are in there. There are different fees on different investments. And you sit down, if you look at it, there'll be expense ratios. It's usually what they're called inside the 401k. When you look at, this long list of the different investments that are in there, and you want to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a investment inside there that has a higher fee,
right,
well, you got to realize that that's taking away from your future, right? And when we talk about adding fuel to your 401k, well, we want to look at ways we can add to that, and how to think about increasing the amount maybe that we're contributing over time to enhance our retirement.
Yeah. Well, I like that. And obviously, a lot of people just have a 401k and they think that's some money I'm putting away for retirement. And then that's the end of their involvement with their 401k. And what we're trying to do is understand, hey, what's in it? What can be done with it? What do I need to watch out for? And when you talk about like fees, I never knew that I was paying fees within my 401k, but you are, aren't you?
You absolutely are, Tony. I think honestly, that's true for pretty much everybody. I think if I took a poll out of the people that I've talked to, do you know what your fees are in your 401k? I don't think anybody could tell me. So it's not something that's disclosed in such a way that it's very obvious. It's a lot of
you get a prospectus or something and all this legalese or a statement once a year. And I don't know anyone who goes through all that fine print.
Right. And
I'm
even
sure
the
there
statement,
are some people
it's just
do.
not clear. It's not made obvious. And I honestly don't know why the regulatory bodies have allowed it to be that way.
No.
But it's simply not obvious. I mean, if somebody handed me their statement, it would take me some time to figure out what the fees were. Because just shows
even somebody who's looked at these things a lot, it would take you a little bit to figure out what's going on, because each place, each 401k, each financial organization that manages it or has it, they have their different ways of putting things, and deciphering your statement from your 401k is ridiculous. And most of it doesn't make sense to most people.
Yeah, exactly. So let me familiarize you with some of the language, some of the jargon, if you will, that they use. There's transaction fees. You've got investment management fees, mutual fund expense ratios, administrative fees, individual service fees, sub-transfer agent fees, distribution costs. The list goes on. But maybe you can kind of know what to look for when you're trying to find what in the world am I paying for this 401k.
Right. And it's worse than buying tickets through Ticketmaster. All the fees.
Maybe. Yeah, they're pretty bad
with fees and all the different things.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that the issue with having high fees in a 401k is you're in that 401k, you're not even really benefiting from professional management. You don't have an advisor that's looking after things and that you can talk to. I mean, maybe you've got the benefit of a representative that comes out once a year and does a little workshop for all the employees, but you don't really have an advisor. Right. And so you're paying a fee to who? So you're not really getting the benefit for that fee.
So obviously you have to learn how to spot these and work with a professional. What are some of the what's a way to reduce the costs? If you're paying fees, what should you do if you have a 401k and it's confusing and you don't know what's in it? You mentioned work with a financial advisor who can help manage your money. How do you do that?
Well, one of the things that you're going to want to do is, first off, I would actually start by talking to HR. human resources. There is in the plan documents that you do receive, there is one, and this is, if you're have a pencil and paper, it's a document called the 404A5. It's a fee disclosure. And
catchy name.
Good luck. Yeah. Have fun finding it, but it's in there. Okay. And so these things are in there.
Sure.
And one of the things you want to look at, though, when you look at all the different investment options that you're given, is the expense ratio for each of the investment options.
Sure.
They can vary quite wildly inside of the 401k. And so you want to look at, ones that perhaps have a lower expense ratio, but you're also going to look at the returns and the risk that are on the different investment options. And you've got to find ones that suit you. Right. And this is the big thing. You've heard us, if you've listened to us at all, you've heard us talk about doing what is in your best interests. But inside the 401k, you're going to need to, advocate for yourself a little bit inside of here with this. So look at the expense ratios, look at the returns, look at the risk that's on the different investments that are offered by your 401k company, and pick the ones that, that suit you as best as you can. And now here's the thing. If you have someone that is a financial advisor, or you'd like to sit down with one, by all means, look them up, give them a call. We have people that give us a call, and, we're managing some of their funds, and they still have funds in a 401k. And they say, hey, can you help me with this 401k? I don't have really any help with this. I say, absolutely. Bring in your options that you have in there, the different investment options. And we'll help you go through it and pick what is best for you.
Right. Well, I just turned 59 and a half, actually, 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Whoa. Whoa. You're old. That whoa wasn't with a financial advisor. Their eyes get big because they're like, oh, you can do things financially. You need an IRA. But also you probably said whoa because I'm old. But I
that's why Josh said it.
I don't know which. Jim said whoa because he's like, let's get you into an IRA, which is why I brought it up, because the financial advisors come out of the woodwork when you turn 59 and a half, because they're like, hey, you've got this money in a 401k. You should think about transferring that, or some of it or all of it, into an IRA, because that gives you more flexibility, more control. Exactly. If you're working with a financial advisor who does it, they'll be transparent. That's a good fiduciary like you guys at LaTour Assets. You guys will really help people see, okay, this is what it can do for you. It really is the reason I brought it up is because it's one option people might want to think about once they've turned 59 and a half, not before. But when you turn 59 and a half, I know, I've talked to you guys about it on past shows and off air, but now it's time to think about moving that money into an IRA possibly, right?
It is. And one of the big reasons, Tony, is inside those 401ks, you have a limited number of options. Right. When you move it outside of the walls of that 401k into an IRA or individual retirement account, the investment universe just opens way up.
Sure.
And you can pick all sorts of things. But the key now, because there are so many options, and this is where having a financial advisor really is now a great advantage, because there are so many options with the IRA. Now, what is best for me? My goals, my objectives, and my risk tolerance. And so, obviously, that's where you are at this point is, hey, what's best now?
Yeah. And I would say too, not only turning 59 and a half makes you eligible to move funds out of a 401k, but also if you leave a previous job, it's going to be smart. And we've talked about it before a number of times on the show. It's smart to keep the funds with you. Keep them where either roll them into your new 401k if you get another job that has that option, or roll it out into an IRA where you're keeping control. Maybe you have an advisor that's helping you manage those funds. And there's a couple reasons. We talked about fees in a 401k. A lot of times there are some underlying fees that an employer will actually cover. But once you've left your employment? Well, the employer's like, well, they're not my employee anymore. I'm not covering those costs. So now those get passed on to you as the investor.
Sure.
And so now you're paying even extra fees to keep it in that old 401k. And you run the risk of forgetting about an old 401k. And that sounds like something that's pretty far out there, but it happens. And I have clients that this has happened to, that forgot that they had a 401k out there. Tony, I know you did it.
Yep, I did it.
Yep. You know, really, there are billions of dollars that are out there in old 401ks
that people have forgotten about.
They have forgotten about.
Yeah. But we're talking about, and that's a thing to watch out for, and another reason to work with financial services professionals like yourselves. But talking about the turning 59 and a half, let's talk about withdrawals from 401ks, when they should be made, when they should not. Because if you take money out before you turn 59 and a half, not only will you maybe have to pay taxes on it, obviously, if you don't do a direct transfer into another cash tax deferred account, you're going to have to pay taxes and a 10% penalty. But there are reasons maybe to withdraw or exceptions to that rule.
Yes, there are. And there's a couple of different options as far as some of the exceptions. One of them is the rule of 55. And so for someone that has retired and they've left the company that they've been, that 401k is held by, and they can take funds from the 401k without incurring a 10% penalty.
Right. The caveat is that they have to have retired in the year they turn 55 or later.
Right.
If it's before, this does not work.
Right. So if you retire in December and you turn 55 next year, that won't work. So it's not just within a year. It has to be the year
within the
of
calendar year. Yeah.
The calendar year. Okay.
Right.
Sure.
So you can still be 54. Let's say you're turning 55, here in September or October, but you retired this year, maybe in June or July. So before your birthday, it's the year you turn 55. So it will work.
So it works on both sides. So if my birthday's in March, if I want to retire, I'm 55 and I turn 55 in March, but I want to retire at January 1st of that same year, I can do that and take my 401k money out so I don't have to get hit with that 10% penalty, but I have to have left that job and retired, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And the other caveat to it is that the money has to come out of that 401k in order to avoid that 10% penalty. So if you do roll your funds out into an IRA, so it's interesting. We've been talking about reasons why you might want to consider rolling funds out into an IRA. This is a reason the other direction. Maybe you want to consider leaving enough funds in that 401k that, you're retired for the next 4 years until you turn 59 and a half. And you need to be able to bridge that gap, leave enough money to where you can take out income without incurring a 10% penalty on those pre-tax funds.
Interesting. And if you take it out and don't directly roll it over into another tax-deferred account, you do have to keep in mind taxes regardless of any of this, right?
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you cash out a 401k and it's large enough, you're going to put yourself into a higher tax bracket, and how high of a tax bracket you go into depends on what that balance is.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to pay attention and be careful with what you do with those funds. So when you're rolling funds, this is where we oftentimes say, hey, listen, sit down with a financial advisor, get some advice, learn the rules for what you need to know so you can get this done properly so you don't hurt yourself in the process.
Yeah, and I know you guys have said this before. You said already, don't leave 401ks at old employers because you may end up paying more fees than you were. You're not working there. Your money shouldn't be either. You might forget about it or it might get lost. Don't do that. Don't cash out early, right? You're basically saying a really bad idea, cashing out, especially before 59 and a half. So really this money in your 401k or 403b or TSP, that's for retirement, and you shouldn't access it ahead. Only even if a hardship withdrawal where you avoid the penalty should only be used as a last resort. Am I right?
Absolutely, Tony. Yeah, I mean, it should be for a true hardship. And the nice thing with the hardship withdrawals is you have to have a qualifying reason to actually do that. Otherwise, they're not going to let you do it.
Right.
So it's going to have to be something like a medical expense, a foreclosure, education expenses, something like that, something that's come up and you need help. And so you're pulling from your 401k. And like you said, yes, that avoids a 10% penalty. It still doesn't avoid taxes. We can't get around not paying taxes on the money that is pre-tax. That's that is what it is. Now, the thing with a hardship withdrawal, you cannot pay it back. So you basically shot those dollars in the foot. You used them for whatever you used them for, and those are no longer retirement dollars. So
they're no longer earning compounding interest,
Correct.
and they're no longer able to be used for your retirement. They're gone.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the other one we need to watch out for is a lot of people do 401k loans. And I want to take just a few minutes on this one because a lot of people don't realize the risk they take when they do take that loan out of their 401k. One, you're taking money from your future self, okay? And the compounding of that. Yeah, you are going to pay it back through payroll deductions and you'll eventually reimburse yourself, right? But it's going to cost you along the way. But if you were to quit that job or you were to lose your job while you still have that loan, usually what's going to happen is whatever balance you owe at that time is going to be considered a distribution. So now suddenly you're going to owe full taxes and 10% penalty on that dollar amount for that loan. So, a lot of people say, hey, well, I've got this money over here. I can just get a loan from that. You might want to think about getting a loan from someplace else than the 401k because of the risks of, you lose your job or you quit that job to move on to something else while you're paying that back. And I think I've only had one person that we've had come in here where they left the company and the 401k allowed them to still pay it back over time.
You beat me to that. Yeah, I was going to mention that.
But most of the time, when you leave that job for whatever reason, it immediately becomes counted as a distribution, and you owe taxes plus a 10% penalty if you're under 59 and a half.
Right.
And that's a big ouch.
Because you want to avoid that. And I mean, when you borrow from a 401k, yes, you can maybe take a loan out of your 401k to use if you have something urgent that comes up, but you're really borrowing from your future.
You are.
And you have to pay back that. Like you said, that's crazy. I wouldn't want to be in that position.
Right.
No, it's a bit of a scary one to find yourself in because usually, if you're in a position where you're taking a loan from a 401k, you're already in some kind of financial difficulty.
Yeah.
And this just
compounds it.
It adds insult to injury. And I tell people, please, if there's any other way, look for that first.
Right. And that's not to say that, every time somebody has done a 401k loan, they made a horrible mistake. Right. Sometimes it was fine. It's just, again, it's one of those last resort options. This isn't the first option we come to and like, well, this is the obvious one. No, sometimes you need to do a little bit more digging and see what's available for you to do, as opposed to, like we said before, borrowing from your future. Because, if you're in dire straits now, well, if you take away from your future money, well, you're going to be in dire straits again. So you're just, you're hurting yourself on down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. So now we've talked about that withdrawals from 401ks and loans. What's next?
Well, I think the next thing is, how do we add some fuel to this 401k? How do we enhance it to better ourselves in retirement? And number one, if you've got a 401k at your company, take advantage of it and do it at least enough to get the match. At least get that much, right? That's the good old fashioned starting point. Start with contributing whatever it takes to get that match. But then we're going to need to look at contributing a little bit more as time goes on. You don't have to try to get yourself, you hear about these people out there that are contributing 20, 25, or 30% to their 401k. Well, not everybody can do that, especially out of the gate, right? But maybe it's something you work into. So if you're contributing, 6% to your 401k and getting a 3% match, maybe, next pay raise, look at how much that pay raise is, and hey, take yourself to maybe 7 or 8%. Look at it next year. Hey, you get a bonus or something at work, and you realize, hey, I can do this a little bit, or you pay something off, so you have a payment that went away. Well, hey, how about adding something more to that 401k and setting yourself up just a little bit better in retirement? It's a great option.
Yeah, I have a client that's contributing 39% of her pay to her 401k.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
She didn't get there overnight. That she didn't just wake up one day and like, you know what? I think I can live on 60% of my pay. No, it was a slow, steady pace continuing to increase over time. And she lowered her standard of living over time. And now when she gets to retirement, she's going to be perfectly comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
So
wow, I feel guilty about where I'm at. I was feeling pretty good about how much I was putting into my 401k, but that's
if it helps, I'm not putting that much either, Tony.
No,
I don't know. If
not many people are.
Fine. No, yeah, that's really good though. The more, the better.
So I have one other one where the couple decided they looked at their budget and they figured out they could live on just one spouse's income. And the one spouse didn't have a big income, and it is right around equal to the limits for what she could put into her 401k. And so all of her paycheck goes into her 401k because she was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and now she went back to work. Yeah. And so she's trying to catch up, and once more in there, they only need his income. So she's contributing 100% because they were able to figure out their budget and just live on his income. So
interesting.
That's good. She's getting herself set aside, money set aside for retirement. It's going to help herself out.
I think that's great. Well, we're out of time for today's show. It flew by. A lot of great information, though, packed in this one. Guys, how can our listeners get a hold of you to set up that consultation to make sure they're on track and have the right plan and know where their money should be? Maybe it should be in an IRA. Maybe they need to tweak their 401k, right?
Absolutely, Tony. Well, listeners, just give us a call. Our number is 417-641-3497. And visit our website at LaTourasset.com.
All right, and that does it for today's episode of LaTour Retirement Talk with our hosts, Josh LaTour and Jim Margraf.